Hey guys, welcome back. I'm out here in Blunt Garage in the S14, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, there's probably quite a few people that are thinking about buying right-hand drive JDM cars that maybe don't understand all of the drawbacks and maybe different things that they'll run into when they're thinking about purchasing one. I think I'm on I don't even know, my 18th right hand drive car. I've been through pretty much every scenario of buying one, whether it's in the States, in Japan, whatever. So I just put together a little list of, just some of the things I wish I knew before I bought my first right hand drive car, which was actually in 2006, and it was a 1999 Honda Civic Type RX. And you can actually find that car in the September issue of 2009 of both Import Tuner and S3 magazine, which was pretty dope for me at the time, especially when there weren't as many JDM cars that had already landed in the States. So let's get right to it. So first and foremost, the biggest issue that you're going to run into trying to find a right-hand drive car absolutely is financing. Coming up with, in let's just say this S14's case, 20, 25 G's, out of pocket is kind of hard for a lot of people. And, there isn't a lot of traditional financing. Banks aren't going to finance these cars. They don't have a 17-digit VIN. It really starts to get muddled up at that point. And so there's a few things you can do. Of course, you can get a private loan from the homie that has the cash and, make it interesting for him. 10% interest, that's not horrible when he's taking money out of his pocket and putting it into yours. Of course, you can do a personal loan through the bank, but your interest rate is going to be higher, just like when you're doing a personal loan. It's or a private loan, it's gonna be higher. You're gonna get taxed if you're borrowing somebody's money. Um, there are other options like Lightstream and SoFi. They're still gonna give you personal loans, but everything's digital. Everything is online. It gets debited straight from your account. So there are a few options, but I definitely wish I had known that a bank's not going to finance these off the jump. The next thing is, again, same thing, insurance. Okay, it's not going to be like your standard car insurance. Okay, everything with these cars is going to take a little bit more work. So when it comes to insurance, again, you can't just go to your Geico and be like, hey, I want to put this S14 on my insurance. They're gonna be like, I'm sorry, but we don't register cars that are imported. Okay, cool. So now what? So you have a few options. It's going to be something called an agreed value policy. And so you and the insurance company agree on the value of the car. Let's just say this S14, you agree on a value of $25,000. So your premium is going to be correlated to that $25,000 agreed value. And so what happens with that is if you get T-boned, if you wreck it or whatever, you are getting that agreed value, no questions asked. And there are like a few companies, and more are waking up to it as there are more and more of these right-hand drive cars on the road. You'll find companies like State Farm, Haggerty, American Collectors, and there's a few more out there. And I mean, really, I don't feel like the premium is that bad considering you get to agree on the value of your car. If I wanted to say that this was a $29,000 car based on my modifications, I would just need to show them those modifications and they would more than likely agree on that value. So I personally use American Collectors. I have 5 cars insured under American Collectors. My premium's really quite low. And so this is just a little heads up. I wish I had known the first time, way back in 2006, that this was going to be the deal. And actually, to be honest with you, in 2006, these cars weren't 25 years old. My 99 was literally 7 years old. And so it's kind of a thing. If you could go to the town and get this thing registered and slide it through under the 10-digit VIN, you're going to have to go with of course, the agreed value, which was almost unheard of except for on collector old classic cars back then. So, the other option, of course, if you couldn't slide it through the town, was the VIN swap. And then, yeah, you can take it to Geico, but when you get in an accident, you're getting the money for, let's just say, that 99 Civic DX that you VIN swapped it with instead of that 99 Civic RX. So when it comes to insurance with these things, just don't skim. Just get the agreed value and run it up. The third thing I wish I had known before I bought a right-hand drive car was importer versus exporter. An importer wants the most markup on a car, right? They're a car dealer. They want the most markup, right? They're gonna buy a turd and they're gonna polish it for you. Not always, but they're going to buy a turd. They're going to polish it up for you, and they want to make the most money from the turd to the end when it's polished. They want to make the most money. Of course, they do all the legwork for you. They do the importing. They get it through customs. They get it out of port. All of that. An exporter generally is going to have your best interest in mind, because if they sell you a quality car, they're getting their commission regardless. They're getting their cut regardless. Whatever their fee is, 10,000 yen, whatever it may be, they're getting that fee whether they sell you a junk car or a good car. So their incentive to sell you a good car is much larger because they're not going to lose out on any money. You do need to wait. If you go the exporter route, you can't just drive to the importer's location in whatever, California, Florida, North Carolina, whatever it may be. You're going to have to wait. And then you do got to collect it from port yourself. However, using an exporter generally saves you 15 to 20% off the top of that car. So, I don't know. If you're in convenience and you just want to grab the car, not too concerned, maybe run with the importer. You'll get it sooner. But I personally now would generally use an exporter. So the fourth thing about these cars that I wish I had known was the rarity and how hard some of the parts are to find for these cars. Now, there are some changeover parts, of course, depending on what you get. If you can see this Integra Type R off to my left, there are going to be parts that are interchangeable and cross over with the USDM version of that car. Same with this S14, right? There was a 240SX and there were Kuki and Zenki 240s. So some of these parts are going to be interchangeable, but some are not. And I found that out the hard way with this car, is this master window switch over here. These are specific to right-hand drive and left-hand drive cars. So the 240SX version of this window control will not work in this S14 because it would have been on that side. So this is something, that you have to anticipate. You can't just go to AutoZone and just grab certain parts for these things. You're going to have to order them from overseas. You're going to have to order them from a distributor here. And, there are certain maintenance parts that, sure, again, cross over. Oil filters, brake rotors, wipers, there are these certain things. But, when you really start getting into these cars, you're going to want to do your due diligence. And my biggest thing to let you know is, if you're getting a car, especially from an exporter that just came from Japan, okay, most of these are going to have JIS terminals, okay? They're very skinny post. They're very, petite, little, small battery posts. And the batteries over here are not. They're SAE terminals. These things are big and fat like you see on your vehicles. The Prius, however, does use JIS terminals. So what you can do, and like I did in this S14 specifically, is you can get a battery for a Prius. You're going to have enough cold cranking amps. It's going to do the job, and you don't have to do the SAE conversion on your terminals. So that's just a little heads up as far as the parts for these cars. So number 5, registration. These are muddy waters, okay? From where I'm from, you register at the town, and then the state approves and then issues your plates. And so the issue with this is that the town and the state aren't always in cahoots and they don't always communicate well. So you're out here trying to register a 10-digit VIN car and you bring it in, and the town clerk is like, wait, you're missing some digits. What do you mean this car is from Japan? I'm not sure if I can even register this. And in some states, they're downright banning K cars and mini trucks. So sometimes these vehicles get lumped into that because of just the lack of education with some of these town workers. So it really can be a headache going to register these cars. Now, if you do your due diligence and you can help assist them in registering the car, giving them information, educating them, that can really kind of expedite the whole thing for you. So just a heads up, you may not just be able to go in and register this like you could your 97 Cavalier, right? It's just a little different. So another thing that I wish I had known is buying local, right? Like a lot of times it's so easy to just go in and type in RHD or JDM in your marketplace search, right? Now, a lot of these guys need to make the money back for their cars. Some of these guys are willing to take a loss, but a lot of these guys have also modified or tried to modify these cars. So buying on marketplace can be hit or miss, especially if you're buying sight unseen, because everyone wants to sell their car, and some people are willing to go that extra mile to get you to buy the car by lying. So that's a big thing. Also, again, these guys buy them, they modify them, they either run out of money, they want something else, they throw it on marketplace. You don't know who modified it, how they modified it, none of that. I tend to stray away from these cars. I stray away from marketplace cars unless everything's verifiable. There is a thing called CarVX, CARVX, and on most right-hand drive JDM cars, it's basically your Carfax. You go in, you CarVX these cars. I CarVX every car I buy because I want to know what this car was like in Japan. They're gonna give you the whole rundown, including pictures from the auction. So you want to make sure you CarVX these cars. The only good thing about buying local sometimes on marketplace is someone's desperate, right? You get desperation sales. And so this guy bit off more than he can chew. Now his old lady or his mom is on his butt and they want him to get rid of that car now. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. If you can find these deals, which this S14 was not on marketplace, but it was one of these deals where a guy had to get rid of this car, and I got this car for half the price that it should have sold at. And this is one of the few exceptions. If you can find a car that is selling for half the price as it should be, jump on it, because you're not going to have to put in double to get it where it should be. And that was the case with this. So that's buying local for you. But another thing that I, really wish I had known was, driving on the right side, right? Is it super hard? No. Is it crazy? No. But at first, it's definitely not maybe disorienting, but a little confusing because you are used to something completely different, right? You're used to being towards the center line of the road. And when you're all of a sudden on the white line of the road, it's easy to kind of lose your place in the road at first. And is it horrible? No. Can it kind of get you into trouble if you're not focused? Yeah, definitely can, because this side of the car over here can be across the yellow line and you're not totally oriented to that. And so you're in the oncoming traffic. So, driving on the right side, is it super hard? No. But do you at first, especially until you get used to it, do you need to pay attention? For sure. The last thing you want to do is you get in your new 33 GTR, you're ripping down the road, and all of a sudden you're in a head-on collision and you had no clue it was coming. As far as actually driving the car, gas is on the right, clutch is on the left. Yeah, you're shifting with your left hand, which like I am right hand dominant, so I don't like love it, but I have become just as confident with my left hand as I am with my right now. So I wouldn't be really too concerned about that, because if you're ambidextrous at all, you'll be able to handle it. And really, finally, the last eighth kind of thing I wish I had known, which I should have assumed, but I really didn't, is that the attention that you get in these cars is wild. I can pull up with my 33 GTR or 34 GTT and get almost as much, if not more, attention as somebody in a Lambo. And when you don't expect it, let's just say when you're taking the car out to just grab some gas, or whatever, get breakfast with your mom, whatever it may be, and you have a group of 4 to 5 people surrounding the car before you can even get out, just at the breakfast spot, it does sometimes get a little overwhelming, because so I love to share this with other people. I love to educate other people, but I also love to be ready to do that. And sometimes you're just not ready. Like, right? Like, you're not even in the mindset to entertain these fans of these cars. And, one thing I will do always foremost is I will always entertain a child. I will always entertain the children, because they are what keeps this going. I'm going to be an old man, and if there isn't a generation behind me that loves these cars won't last. So I always entertain the children, and I do my best to entertain anyone who is interested in the cars, but sometimes it's just not the time, or maybe the place. So I really wish I had realized before sinking into this so hard that, like, you do have a responsibility to entertain these people. That doesn't mean you always have to accept that responsibility, but that is going to come, and it does come with owning these cars. So these are just 8 quick things that I wish I had known before I purchased my first right-hand drive car. None of them are deterrents. None of them are going to keep you from reaching your goals. Just make sure that you do your due diligence and, like, understand what you're getting into. I personally would not take it back for anything. I love these cars. I love the community based around these cars, and I really am looking forward to, as some more of these, especially the 34 GTR, becomes federally legal, how everything progresses. So that is pretty much it for this video. Make sure you subscribe if you could. The support would be super dope. We're doing our best here. Hit up the podcast. Hit up the website. Get the merch. RHDGUYS.com. And yeah, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.